It's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, brought to you by Stock Car Steel and Aluminum and SRI Supplies. Here's tonight's Speed 77 Radio Race Chaser Online Crew Chief, Tom Baker.
Good Thursday evening, everybody, and welcome to another Thursday Night Thunder here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. My name is Tom Baker. I am the senior editor of RaceChaserOnline.com. Today's racing news, yesterday's racing history, and I am joined on this very special Thursday night by a couple of my Race Chaser colleagues. Jacob Seelman, the managing editor of Race Chaser Online and the founder of our audio arm of our website, Speed 77 Radio, is with me at the roundtable, as is our Northeast correspondent, Kyle Magda. Kyle will be joining me here in Oswego, New York for this upcoming weekend because it is the 59th annual Budweiser International Classic weekend at the Oswego Speedway, and Kyle and I will be providing live updates all week long of the Super Modified, Small Block Supers, and the Race of Champions Modified Tour as well. They're coming into town tomorrow night. So lots going on here in Oswego, in just a short distance from where I'm positioned right now. The little dirt track out back of the Oswego Speedway, which is called the Oswego Kartway, or more affectionately known as the Bull Ring, Little 8th Mile Dirt Track, is holding their kart classic tonight. So a lot going on here in Oswego and throughout the racing world. It is Labor Day weekend, and Jacob Seelman, Labor Day weekend is one of those glorious weekends of the year that we call big race weekends. You have Memorial Day, you have the 4th of July, and you have the Labor Day weekend races. And we've got a lot of ground to cover. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about Oswego, but we've got a lot more than that going on here this weekend, and just some very, very special stuff. We'll start at the top, Jacob. Why not? We'll start with NASCAR. And of course, what's coming up this weekend is the Grand Old Lady of the South, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to NASCAR races, the Southern 500 at Darlington. And I know a lot of throwback schemes, just a lot of history coming back to life this weekend at Darlington.
Yeah, and just let's clarify for a second here before I get started on my rant for the evening, and good evening, everybody. Tom, anytime we're on the air is special, not because we're talking about racing, but because we're just that kind of crazy. In the meantime, though, you're right. We have a lot going on this weekend. As you mentioned, the Southern 500, it's one of the greatest races of the year, and in my opinion, right back where it belongs, right here on Labor Day weekend. I'm excited about that. I get to see it live on Sunday night. I'm looking forward to that. You mentioned throwbacks. Yeah, we've got those 30, count them, 30 throwback paint schemes out of the 46 entries are going to hit the track at Darlington this weekend. It's like a time warp back to the 70s, and it's not just the cars. It's the track. The walls are all painted retro. We've got retro logos. NASCAR's bringing out the retro logos. We're going to have retro apparel. You've got retro on the television and radio broadcasts. Barney Hall going to step back in the booth for a period with MRN this weekend, along with Eli Gold and some of the other voices from back in the day. You've got NBC with their throwback graphics, throwback outfits, throwback broadcasters. We're going to see a portion of the Southern 500 Sunday night with the original power trio, as I've taken to calling them this weekend. Ken Squire, Ned Jarrett, and Dale Jarrett going to share the broadcast booth this weekend for a segment of the Southern 500. It's just all out, Tom. This is literally like stepping back 40 years, back to your youth, if you will, and I couldn't be more excited about this. I've got cassette tapes. Yes, I still own a few of those from the good old days, as my dad used to call them, and it's going to be like getting to relive that this weekend. I couldn't be more excited. The only thing I'm mad about is that Jeff Gordon's not got a throwback scheme. Come on, 3M, get with the program here.
Yeah, really. I mean, I think that we ought to figure out who the 16 party poopers are and like just take them out on the air here tonight and just torch them. That's no fun. There were 16 people that just didn't participate. Boo.
Yeah,
Now,
boo.
I need to clarify, and maybe you don't have this information, but I'm really hoping that when you talk about throwback outfits for the NBC crew, I'm really hoping we aren't going to see Kyle Petty and Rutledge and all of those guys in those short shorts they used to wear in the 1980s. We're not going back there, are we?
Well, no, they said 1970s, so I think
okay.
we're safe.
Okay, so maybe they'll all be in plaid. That would be interesting.
Ooh, I'd be game for that. I like plaid.
Anyway.
Go talk to Magda before he feels like we don't like him or anything.
We'll bring Kyle in on this because, of course, Kyle
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Well, we know if you get lonely too long, you cry. You've covered some NASCAR shows for us very well this year, both at the K&N level and also in the National Series level. I know you're going to be with me this weekend at Oswego doing supers, but I think we're all equally excited about the Darlington piece because, it's just we're really going to get a chance to relook at some history. One of the things, Kyle, that I'm really excited about is there's 2 or 3 Buddy Baker throwback schemes out there, including the 1970s Bud Moore Ford number 15 that Buddy drove. And I think it's a great way to pay tribute to the late Buddy Baker. And that 15 car was the car that I first saw him run. That white and blue Bud Moore throwback scheme is going to be fun for me on Clint Boyer's car.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Jeff Gordon, I wasn't the only one scratching my head. Even when that first originally came out, 3M won at the race. That's what I was told. And I'm kind of disappointed that they're not doing it, but maybe at least I'm honestly shocked because I thought they would at least do something of a throwback. Even if it was Greg Biffle's paint scheme from 2007 with the 3M colors, I would have been fine with that because that was one of my favorite looking cars. But Tom, I mean, we're going to be up in Oswego covering the Bud Classic, and we'll be watching the race somewhere on Sunday night. I've heard the tires are supposed to fall off with what Goodyear is bringing and all the classic paint schemes we have, and it's looking like it might be like the event of the not the century, maybe the decade. Just so much going on, and hopefully I can make it there one day. But it's a busy weekend. I mean, we have ARCA's at DuQuoin this weekend. We have all these things going on, and it's a great time, to be alive right now. Just so much going on, and Jacob, I know I know you said you're going to try to go to Darlington on Sunday, and then to see all those classic paint schemes in person. So what are you looking forward to this weekend? And let me ask you this: what's your favorite paint scheme that you've seen so far?
Oh boy, you really put me on the spot. I'm gonna have to go with the Ford Torino 17 replica scheme that Ricky Stenhouse is running. That was probably my favorite throwback because it's from the era where you really had some of the best of the best, in my opinion, going at it. Pearson, from what I've heard, is going to try to be at the race in the 17 pit on Sunday night.
Oh, nice.
At least I've heard the rumor anyways. Don't quote me on it, but I've heard that rumor. So we'll wait and see what happens. But actually, Kyle, the scheme I'm most looking forward to and most excited about is one that I won't get to see because it's going to be run in the Xfinity race on Saturday. Is the scheme that, as we were talking about Buddy Baker tributes, Tom, J.J. Yaley and the JGL number 28 team in the Xfinity Series bringing back Buddy Baker's Gray Ghost that he ran at the 1980 Daytona 500 and won that race in. Going to have a tribute hood with Buddy's likeness on it, paying tribute to the Gentle Giant. Yeah, the Gray Ghost is back, and I think that's what I'm most excited about. You want to talk about a piece of history right there. There you go.
Well, and that I remember that race so well because I was a Buddy Baker fan, and not just because of the last name either. He was he was such a hard-nosed racer. He was the greatest guy outside the car, and I just love to listen to him talk. He always told great stories, but you get him on the track and he just doesn't lift. And that Daytona race, that was, for those who don't know or weren't alive then, that car was owned by Harry Ranier, and that car was so fast. I mean, that was at the time the fastest Daytona 500 in history. And I remember that race so well because he dominated the whole week there. And then when he got out of the car in victory lane, he had tears. And to see I was maybe 11 or so, 12 back at that time, and to see, a big man cry like that and just be so thankful to win a race made an impression on me, and I was very happy for him, and it was a long time coming, Kyle. Buddy Baker worked forever to get a Daytona 500 win, and that year that car was just blindingly fast.
Yeah, and I just want to add one thing on that. I know the year before, in 1979, he pretty much dominated all of Speed Weeks until having the mechanical failure in the 500,
yep.
And then just going out there and winning it. But just something I want to add quick on Buddy Baker is that speed was 177.602 miles an hour. It was still the race record today for the 500. But I think there were like 6 cautions in the race, so really it just showed you how fast that was. But something I just want to say quick about a classic scheme, the one that probably took my heart away was probably Kyle Larson's Mellow Yellow scheme, the old Kyle Petty colors back from the
Days of Thunder.
The Days of Thunder, and then from the early 90s. So good to see that back on the track. And, not because I'm Kyle and, Kyle's driving an old Kyle car, but, you get the point.
Yeah, have a few of those. Why don't you?
And I watched Kyle win at Watkins Glen with that scheme, so that was very cool. Got to interview him afterward too. That was a lot of fun. We're going to take our first break of the evening. When we come back, we're going to shift just for a little while to some short track conversation and focus on the Indy of the East, the Oswego Speedway. Their 59th annual Budweiser International Classic going to roll off on Sunday afternoon at the Fast 5/8 of a mile, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the track and the race itself, and then we're going to hear from one of the youngest competitors to be taking a shot at his first Classic win. Daniel Connors going to be talking with us next on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. You're listening to our show on the Performance Motorsports Network.
I'm NASCAR driver Bobby Labonte. At 200 miles per hour, many unseen dangers can arise in the blink of an eye. That's why we have spotters high above the track. They help drivers avoid trouble. Parents need to play the same role when it comes to kids and computers. As a parent, I know the internet can take kids to wonderful sites for learning, entertainment, and fun, but it can also lead to danger.
Here are some safety tips. Keep the computer in a family area where you can see it. Proactively teach your children never to share personal information online.
My turn.
Become knowledgeable about signing on to websites, searching for information, and using email and instant messaging. Doing so will help you recognize potential dangers. Familiarize yourself with safer websites and post that list by your computer.
Like our spotters, parents are best positioned to see the dangers kids could face online and to help them avoid them. Make a commitment to keeping kids safe online.
A message from WebWise Kids and Ask.com.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Travel is part of the American way of life.
When we're on vacation, we keep an eye out for anything that looks out of place.
Miss your bag.
When we travel from city to city, we pay attention to our surroundings.
Everyone plays a role in keeping our communities safe.
Whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem, and I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Here we go with more of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to tonight's edition of Thursday Night Thunder here on the Performance Motorsports Network. And it starts off with our show, the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. My name is Tom Baker, along with Jacob Seelman and Kyle Magda. We are all talking racing here on a Thursday evening, and we're going to switch gears here and do something that we don't often do here on this show. We're going to actually talk some open wheel. There occasionally is an opportunity for us to go and cover a race live or be a part of a big race weekend, and we like to mix things up a little bit. So this particular weekend, the focus of our live coverage, at-track coverage, is going to be the Oswego Speedway here in Oswego, New York. For those of you who don't know where that is, if you get a map of New York State and look for Lake Ontario, Oswego is right along the lake shore, just about an hour south of Watertown, 2 hours south of Canada, and we are about 45 minutes or so, 40 minutes north of Syracuse, New York. And this track that we're going to be covering a lot of the weekend from originally started as a dirt track back in the 50s. It was paved in the 60s, early 60s, and like most other short tracks around the country, the old sportsman classes, the coupes and coaches and such of the day, stock cars, early stock cars raced at Oswego until about 1962, when a couple of guys from Michigan, Art Bennett and Johnny Benson Sr., came in along with Dave Paul with their cut-down cars, or super modifieds as they soon became known as. And when they came, they had the wings on top. Oswego decided we're going to be a super modified weekly track, and ended up going to an unwinged version of the super modifieds in the 63 season, I think, was the first full year for the supers. And of course, we still had a lot of the sportsman cars that raced with them for a little while, but sooner than later, everybody had super modifieds, and that's where it stayed. Oswego's become the home of the super modifieds, and through that era, just to give you a little bit of background, Oswego and the super modified division responsible for a lot of guys cutting their teeth in racing that went on to run at Indianapolis. Gordon Johncock, Todd Gibson, Bentley Warren, Sammy Sessions, chief among them. And, of course, we had a bunch in the 80s and early 90s. Doug Havron, Chuck Siprich, Chet Phillip. I think the last one from Oswego to try it was actually Joe Gozick in 1993, and Doug Didero around the same time. So lots of stuff going on at the Oswego Speedway this weekend. And it is the big race of the year, the Budweiser International Classic for the Supers. It's the richest one-day super modified event anywhere on the planet. And guys, this is, I'm going to turn to you first, Jacob. This is one of those races, if you're a short track racing fan, because of the exotic nature of the super modified car and the sheer speed that these cars run, and because over the course of this weekend we'll see the cars with and without the wings, two entirely separate race programs, one Saturday, one Sunday. This should be on every short track, oval track racing fan's bucket list.
I was beginning to wonder if you were ever going to get done and let anybody else talk. Jeez.
Needed to give some history. We want to set the table for where we're at here and why we're even bothering to talk about this race.
Okay, valid point. I'll give you that. But you and your history could go on for 45 minutes if you're not careful. That's why I worry.
Not a bad
Anyway.
idea.
You know what? I'll talk for a minute so you can sit back and take a breath. Anyway, you're absolutely right. It should be on every race fan's bucket list, at least every short track racing fan's bucket list. And to be honest, any race fan who is a race fan needs to come and see this event at least once in their lifetime. My granddad competed in this event. For those who don't know, Bob Seelman is my grandfather, ran sprint cars and super modifieds for years up at Oswego, never won at the famed 5/8 mile, but boy, did he come close a few times. And the International Classic was a race that once you compete in it, Tom, it irritates you if you can't get to victory lane in it, because the history, the prestige, and just how doggone tough it is to actually survive 200 laps and be in contention to win at the end of it. It's not easy. You've been previewing some of the greatest drives in history, and some of them have come on, improbable moments and scenarios that you look back and go, that really happened? And we go, yes, it did happen. In the 58 prior years of the International Classic, there have been more improbable moments in this race than probably any other major sporting event in the country. You know why? Because it's the nature of the beast, Tom. The Steel Palace is more than just a palace. It can jump up and bite you if you're not careful. That's what we saw. You actually told one of my favorite classic stories of all time this morning on Race Chaser Online. The 98 Classic, in which Bentley Warren got his 6th. The Steel Palace came up and bit just about everybody in that field on Classic Sunday, just not Bentley.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're going to hear now from a driver who is going to be looking for his first International Classic win, one of the younger racers at Oswego. Here's Daniel Connors after last night's test session.
Standing in the pits at the Oswego Speedway after Wednesday night's test and tune session for the 59th annual Budweiser Classic weekend at the Speedway with Daniel Connors. Daniel, one of the younger generation, and another example of racing being a family sport here. Daniel's father, Dan Connors, involved at the track before he was even old enough to drive, and now you are old enough to drive and have done a great job behind the wheel. You got a new car for this year. Tell us a little bit about what you're driving this year in the Super Modified division.
Well, it's basically all brand new car. Hawksby built it over the winter, and we got it ready about halfway through the season, and as soon as we got it together, I got sick with mono, so we had the car already sitting there and we couldn't drive it. So this is the first time we've actually been able to run it and test it, so we had a lot of things to work through tonight to get ready for Classic.
Certainly a great start, though. Some laps in the 5s and 6s, 16.5, 16.6s really look pretty good out there. Talk a little bit about where you think the car's at right now and what you think you need to do before Sunday.
Well, I think the car's pretty close handling-wise, but I know we can get quite a bit more out of it because we had some issues to deal out. Right now the brakes were sticking, and that's why I spun out a couple times, and we need to fix that before Friday at least, because it's just it won't work the way it is. So
brakes sticking and time trials don't go together very well, do they?
No, so we might have to change a master cylinder, do whatever we can do, and that should get us a couple more tenths. I mean, there's a lot of guys running low 16 1s and 2s, and I feel a feeling if we're not down there, it'll be tough to make it into, top 14 is going to be real fast this year. So,
yeah, I think you're right. Now you started, I think, in quarter midgets, right, and then came directly to the supers. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, I raced quarter midgets for probably 10 or 11 years. I started when I was 5, and I went right to this when I was 15, 15 turning 16, and we've just had kind of bad luck. I've gotten a lot of seconds, still haven't won yet though, but I mean, maybe this weekend will be the first one. I don't know.
The Classic is always a good time to get your first win. Timmy Snyder can tell you about that one.
Oh, yeah. It would definitely be a good win anytime, but it would be great the first time.
Talk about what you've learned over the years with, racing these cars. I mean, obviously, that's a huge jump in horsepower and size from a quarter midget. You started when you were very young. You've had 2 or 3 different cars over the course of that time. Talk about what the biggest thing is, or some of the biggest things are that you've learned that have helped you to get better with these cars.
Oh, I mean, I can't even count all the things I've learned. Honestly, the times we were struggling the most is when we learn the most, and I know it's going to help us in the long run. You know, we had whole years where we just struggled. We barely finished a race, and pretty much all of that just went towards knowing what to do when the car is handling a certain way. I mean, there's so many things to learn, too. I mean, everybody can learn every time they go out.
I've heard a lot of talk about the tire situation this year going into the Classic, and the tires falling off faster than they have in the past, or whatever the situation might be. What are you looking for as far as the Classic, and are you have you thought about pit stop, no pit stop? I've heard a lot of conversation that a lot more teams may be looking at pit stops this year because of the tires.
Well, right now we don't have a side cell yet for the car, so we need to make a pit stop anyways to refuel, and we're just going to base it on how the car's feeling. When we make that stop, I might make another stop to change the tire. It all just depends on how the race is going. The tires have changed even since the last time I was here, so we don't really know how they're going to wear yet. And especially with this being a new car, we don't know how they're going to wear. I mean, the tires changed dramatically through the year, and some of them softened up, and some of them were wearing out way too quick when they weren't before. So I mean, the tires are always a struggle, so we'll just take that as it comes.
Certainly looks like Fast Friday is going to be very fast, as you mentioned. Give us an idea where you think the cutoff time is going to fall to make it into the top 14. I know, a lot of people are saying it could be faster than the 16.4.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's gone down every year. I'm not sure what it was last year. I think it might have been around a 4 or a 5.
It was a 4.
Yeah, so, and there was quite a few guys running 2s, and now there's a lot more new cars. There's a lot more new hot cars, so the cutoff might be down around a 2.
That's fast.
Yeah, it's really fast. I think there's going to be a lot of people clustered around one time, and if you miss that by a little bit, you're going to be stuck way back.
That seems like what often happens. You get, and I think last year was a 4. It might have been a low 5. I'm not sure, but you get a few people that are super quick, and then you just get a cluster of them right within a tenth or a tenth and a half, and that's just it's amazing how that works out. But I know you can't do this by yourself, so talk about who helps you make this happen.
Everybody that comes to work on the car Saturday nights. My dad does most of it, and there's John Edwards and Steve Morrell and Mark Letcher, Danny Wiegand. We work with Jerry Kern, and we both help each other out a lot. I mean, he helps us a ton. He's here right now actually helping us. So all the sponsors, Paul's Big M, PJ's Ice Cream, Top Stitch, Chris Nelson State Farm, Lavery Welding. Pretty much without all the sponsors, we wouldn't have the new car we have right now, so it's a big part of it.
Well, Daniel, look forward to seeing you run this weekend. Congratulations on some good times tonight. I know you still got some work to do, but you have to be at least optimistic after seeing what the car did this afternoon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we didn't know what to expect coming in here because we haven't run the car really yet before, and we're pretty happy with what we've had, and we know we can go faster, and that's the most important thing. So we'll work on it Friday morning before time trials too, and hopefully we can shave off those extra tenths that we need.
Daniel Connors, one of the younger generation of racers in the Super Modified division, going for his first Classic win.
Daniel Connors, and if you're planning on coming to the Classic this weekend, you can't miss him. The car is bright orange with a number 01 on it. You just cannot miss that car on the racetrack. It is a sharp-looking piece. With that, we step aside. When we come back, more Oswego Speedway conversation. We're going to hear from a driver who's come all the way from Phoenix, Arizona to compete with us this weekend for the first time in 18 years. Joey Moriarty coming up next on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, intermediate to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. But every driver seeks the pinnacle of their achievements. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network. Time for more of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on PMN. Here's a man who's in great shape. Well, round is his shape. Give it up for Tom Baker.
Try square next time, Tom.
No, I think I got a little rounder after a couple of days of eating at GJP Italian Eatery here in town. That was those pizza slices were huge. We are back at from Oswego, New York, the home of the Oswego Speedway, where the 59th annual Budweiser International Classic will roll off Sunday afternoon. And if you're wondering, well, what all is going on this weekend? Well, tomorrow is, of course, day one of the racing action. And we'll have some practice during the day, and then we will start about 6 in the evening or so with top 14 time trials for the Super Modifieds for Sunday. First round time trials for the Classic. We call it Fast Friday, and speeds will approach 150 mile an hour average speeds for the unwinged Supers tomorrow as we qualify the top 14 into the Classic on Sunday. And of course, we'll have the Fast Friday for the small block Supers as well. Top 6 cars coming out of that time trial session. And the Race of Champions Modifieds will be in action tomorrow night as well for 125 laps. And that should be a great race. We'll talk a little bit about that here in just a little while. Guys, one of the neat things about the Classic that has always made it special was that this is a race that has been known for drivers coming from all over the country over the years. Now, it's changed a little bit in the sense that the super modified division has become a little bit more regional in nature. But Jacob, as you explained earlier, your grandfather came from Michigan to run Oswego, and in fact, for a while, he was racing in the early 70s, was racing most every week at the Speedway. And that was common back then. Canada cars, sure. Michigan, Midwest, New England, and West Coast cars. Now, we don't see the West Coasters coming in too much anymore, except for Davey Hamilton, who doesn't bring a car of his own. In fact, the car that he drives is actually
John
stationed
Nicotra
here in central New York. As part of Nicotra Racing, Davey comes in, drives the car, and still is a threat every year to win the race, which he did in 1997. But we've got a driver who is coming from Phoenix, Arizona, is actually here and tested last night with a brand new Hawk chassis for the driver of the 51, Joey Moriarty. Joey and his family are the owners of Total Seal Pistons. And Joey getting back into super modified racing for the first time in 18 years to run the Classic. And We are going to hear from him right now.
Standing in the pits at the Oswego Speedway at the conclusion of Wednesday night's test and tune for the 59th Annual Budweiser International Classic with driver Joe Moriarty. Joe making his return to the Speedway after many years' absence with a brand new Hawk chassis race car and awfully quick today, 16.5s on old tires, you're telling me. That's pretty sporty around this place.
Yeah, we were happy with it. We wanted to be on old tires as much as we could today and kind of simulate either getting the car neutral on old tires or simulate the classic, when the fuel load's in it. We put as much fuel as it would take and stayed on those old tires trying to get an idea what it was going to act like. So we're pretty happy.
Now, it's been, about 20 years or so since you raced here?
18 years. So.
Yeah. What made you decide to come back at this time? Not that we're sad to see you back. We're happy to see you back, but why now?
Just a lot of friends, a lot of people I've known since I was young, and Oswego's kind of a special place, and the Tereses have done a lot to
sure have
keep it at a pretty high level, and from a company standpoint, Total Seal standpoint, it's tracks like this that continue to support the industry. The shocks, the tires, the wheels, the motors, the parts in the motors, those are all parts that are made within this industry, which I live. So I like to support tracks that are doing as much as they can, to keep things healthy. And so we've decided to help sponsor a little bit. And it's just a nice opportunity. Joey's made this all possible. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing it. So, I owe everything to him, and it's just been a good time, and hopefully this weekend will go well.
Now, what have you been doing between stints at Oswego? I think you've been playing on the dirt a little bit, haven't you?
Yeah, it's all dirt. Everything back out west is dirt. I ran, when I first went home, moved away from here, I ran a sprint car non-wing sprint car at Manzanita for about 8 years, and 8-9 years, and got old enough where I didn't want to get upside down anymore, and so I got rid of the sprint car and started running late models and USMTS Open modifieds, and I guess probably for the last 7-8 years, that's what we've been doing. So, but everything's been dirt. We race year round pretty much. Most of our racing's in the winter. It's 110, 115 out there in the summer, so it gives us a nice opportunity to come out here and enjoy the weather and do something different.
Now, for those in our audience who are, I know, going to want to understand this question, have you been able to learn anything on the dirt tracks over the years that are helping you with this now that you've come back? I know these cars have changed quite a bit.
They have, but, most of anything we're doing is thanks to Joey. He's just put a good car together, and from a racing standpoint, there's no way that running dirt wouldn't help you, so exactly what it's done or hasn't done, I really don't know. We seem to have a lot of speed. And I'm happy about that, and we'll see how it goes.
Tell us a little bit about Total Seal.
Well, it's the same thing it's always been. We make piston rings, and it's all we do. But we make them as technologically advanced as we can to try and get race cars to go faster. It's as simple as that. And when we moved home, we were able to, in '98, when we went, I call it home, but we went back to Phoenix. That's where I was born.
Sure.
We just concentrated, kept our eye on the ball, so to speak, a little bit better, and made some advancements that have got us into the professional world, really heavy NASCAR, NHRA, and continued, most of these cars around here run them, and sprint cars and late models and at all these tracks run them, and we've just been real fortunate. A lot of hard work, dedication, and a little bit of good luck, I guess, timing, I guess, when it has come together, and things are going well.
Well, it's good to see you back here. I'll get you out of here on this question. A lot of talk about the tires, and I know that you've been away for a while and really haven't run much this year at all, just tested, I think, 1 time or 2 times before with this car, but what are you thinking about in terms of the Classic? Are you planning a pit stop, not planning a pit stop? What are you thinking about with the 51 car?
Well, I don't know much. All I really know is what Joey tells me, and some of the people helping me that have way more experience than I do with what's going on here. So I'm just trying to listen and learn. And as far as making a stop for tires, I'm sure we're not gonna. We're just gonna do our best to get the car balanced, and I'll do what I can to preserve the tires, and hopefully in the last 50, 60 laps we're in a position and have some tire left that we can start racing. So our plan is to run the whole race.
Veteran racer Joey Moriarty figures to be in the money on Friday night for Fast Friday for top 14 qualifying and hoping for his first International Classic victory.
And welcome back. And, Jacob, Joey Moriarty is a good example of a driver that would come and run the Oswego Classic. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of one-offs. We've got Mike McVetta, who's a Midwest supermodified racer, runs in Ohio, has never run without a wing before, built a car and a body especially for Sunday's Classic. So after Saturday's ISMA supermodified show where they do run the wings, he's going to take the wing off the car and attempt to qualify for the Classic without the wing. And it's a totally different race car, really, and in the way that you have to drive it. With a wing, you very rarely lift off the throttle, let alone use any real brake unless you're in traffic. Without the wing, whole different deal. And it's going to be interesting to see how McVetta does, and certainly Moriarty, even with 18 years between super modified races, he's got a brand new Hawk car, and that car was hooked up last night in testing.
Yeah, I've seen some video circulating around social media from last night. So I've gotten to see a few of the clips of some of the guys, and there are several guys that I liked as far as those who were hooked up or at least looked that way. I know Bob Bond was another one who actually led testing yesterday. So
2 Classic wins for him.
Exactly. And you bring up Mike McVetta. That's one of my favorite stories in super modified racing, period, let alone the International Classic. For those in our audience who may not know the name McVetta, not only is he a NASA engineer, he builds every one of his race cars himself. So this is a guy who literally takes the phrase, knows the car inside and out to a whole new level. He races ISMA. He got his first ISMA win earlier this season. He's looking for his first Classic win. And you want to talk about a feel-good story and maybe a spoiler? I'm going to throw Mike McVetta's name into the hat right now because I think that would be a win for the ages if he could pull it off.
Actually, well, it would if he could pull it off. I think, honestly, him qualifying and finishing the race would be a win for Mike McVetta, just because when you haven't done it before, it's a whole different ball game than the much shorter ISMA shows. 200 laps is a long time. Your tires are going to fall, not literally fall off, of course, but the tires are going to go away. A lot of drivers talking about making pit stops, change a tire or two in this race, more so than what I've ever heard before, honestly. So going to be very interesting for guys like McVetta, but it's great to have Mike in the field, and he was doing some motor work just a couple of days ago, right up till the time that they loaded the car to come here. So that's the kind of driver that you like to have at the Classic. We don't see quite as much of that as we used to, just because aren't the sheer numbers of super modifieds around the country anymore that there used to be. But by the way, this event, like several others previous this year, will be filmed for eventual broadcast within the next month or so on MAV TV. So for those of you listening to this, wondering, well, how can we see this race? You got 2 choices. You can wait for the MAV TV broadcast, or, Jacob, you can go to OswegoSpeedway.com and just go to the Asphalt Vision tag, and you can actually rent or watch the video live stream on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, pay-per-view, they've done that for at least the past decade, Tom. I know you said you think about 2005 is when that started.
I think,
so
somewhere 3
roughly,
or 4 or 5.
Somewhere in the middle of Greg Furlong's string of 6 wins in a row. So that's always fun. And like you said, Suzuki presents Speed Sport on MAV TV. Shout out to Derek Pernosiglio and all the guys at Speed Sport News helping to make that show possible. They're going to have 3 one-hour programs, one each for the ISMA Super Nationals, the Race of Champions Modified show, and the big show, the Budweiser International Classic, coming up later on in September, October. So keep an ear to the ground for that, or you can keep it tuned to Race Chaser Online, and we'll have information on those air dates coming up shortly. Right now, we're going to do some business. When we come back, we'll talk a little more about the International Classic, including very possibly who we think will be in contention to win come Sunday evening. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
This is Paul Stanley from KISS for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. Some of us work months producing a CD, but in less time than it takes to play it, someone will be killed in an alcohol-related crash. So please don't drive when you've been drinking. Plan ahead. Arrange a designated driver. Remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network.
This is Joey Logano, driver of NASCAR number 22 Discount Tire Car. You know something? You and I aren't all that different. I drive a car, you drive a car. My car has tires, your car has tires. I may be going just a little faster than you each weekend, but we both need to keep those tires properly inflated to stay safe. So be tire smart and do your part. Check your tire pressures once a month and before every long journey.
Visit betiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
Let's go back to steel and aluminum stock cars and supplying the SRIs with Race Chaser Online Senior Editor Tom Baker and the Speed 77 radio cast.
Steel,
what?
That was just awful.
Well, that's close enough. I don't care.
Welcome back to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Coming to you live from Oswego, New York, the Port City, as it is known, where we are getting ready to cover the 59th annual Budweiser Classic, International Classic 200 at the Oswego Speedway. And of course, we'll have live updates all weekend long through our Twitter feed at Race Chaser News. And we'll have stories all weekend long on our Facebook page. And of course, racechaseronline.com. So, and Performance Motorsports Network's social media as well. So lots of stuff happening here. And guys, we've talked a little bit about the history of the race and, you know, some of the names that have been here and gone on to do other things in racing. One of the things that's really unique, I think, about Oswego Speedway and the super modifieds in general is the amount of multi-generational involvement that there is. I know that we see it in all parts of the sport, but it just seems much more prevalent at Oswego. We've got 2 third-generation drivers competing. Actually, we've got 3 third-generation drivers competing this Sunday, competing this weekend for their first Classic wins. We've got Stephen Joya III, whose father Steve won the 76 Classic and whose grandfather owned cars at Oswego since the 60s. And we've got Michael Muldoon, who is looking for his first Classic win. His father, Mike, has been a Classic winner, both as a driver and also just as a car owner, because Joe Gozick and Davey Hamilton have both won Classics in Mike's cars that Mike actually built as well as owned. And we've also got Brandon Bellinger, whose father, Eddie Jr., was a multi-time Classic winner and track champion at Oswego. And, of course, Eddie Sr., a sportsman big-time winner before the Supers kind of came into play. And, it's just cool to have so many multi-generational racers. We've got a bunch of second gen, and we heard from Daniel Connors earlier. His father Dan's been involved forever. It makes great stories, Jacob, when you have that sort of pass it down kind of thing. And one other one that I just thought about is Dave Schulich Jr., DJ, coming in. He'll be running for wins both Saturday and Sunday. His father, Dave, was known as the Shoe, and Classic win escaped him, had a bunch of seconds, but never could get a win. But boy, everybody loved Dave whenever he would race here.
Yeah, they did. And FYI, Schulich Jr. is indeed Shoe 2 for anybody who was hoping that they would get the reference properly. He's won everything at Oswego except, I think, the Super Nationals and the Classic. Schulich the second has. And it's one of those – this is one of those weekends for Dave Jr. that it's like, okay, what's going to happen to the car this time? I'm hoping that this is the year where everything goes right, because Shoe 2 is one of those guys who is not only good at what he does, Tom, he's kind of universally liked too among his competitors. He races everybody clean, he races everybody hard, but even when he's stomping on them like Fire and Ice have done in the ISMA races at Oswego over the last couple of years, I mean, everybody respects when he wins because he just outsmarts them, it seems like, except on this weekend. Labor Day weekend has not been nice to Shoe 2 over the last couple of years.
No, he would really like to get a win this weekend in either race. What's interesting now is that he and Otto Sitterly have become good buddies, and Otto drives Shoe 2's second car for the Oswego ISMA shows, and will be in it this weekend again, looking for his second win of the year in the car because he won a race earlier this year in it. And Shoe 2 in return gets the ride in one of Otto Sitterly's team cars for Nicotra Racing for the Sunday show, the International Classic itself. And that's, again, it's a race that has never really been too kind to DJ, to Shoe 2. And so he would love to get a win one way or another, but both fields are going to be tough. And this is kind of where I want to take us next here, is to the quality of the starting field. We don't have the kind of quantity of cars that we used to have. We would get commonly 55, 60 cars or more through the 60s, 70s, and even into the early 80s. Not so many now, as I said earlier, around the country. So we top off around 40 cars. We start 34, but let me tell you, the speeds on Friday, the pole speed will probably be about a 16 flat, 16.1, and they're estimating the cutoff time for the top 14, if you're going to make it into the top 14, make it out of first round qualifying, to be about 16.3, 16.4. So we're talking maybe 0.2, 0.3, and that's over the course of a 40-car field.
Yeah, and see, that's what makes this race so tough to win, Tom, is because everybody's so tight. With that being said, because it's so tough to win, that makes it a perfect segue for me to ask you this question, sir, and it's actually a two-part question. Since 2009, there have only been 2 drivers to taste victory in the International Classic, and you, sir, I assume should be able to name them just like I
Otto
would.
Sitterly and Bobby Bond.
Correct, sir. So that means I ask you this now, part 2. Who's going to win it? Is it going to be one of those 2, or is it going to be somebody else?
Well, there again, I need about 5 minutes to really explain this, but I'm just going to, in short, if you said, look, just who do you think is the odds-on favorite? Until somebody can beat Otto Sitterly, I'm picking Otto. I think this year, because of the tires, which, as Daniel Connors has said earlier, the tires, the composition of the tire has changed even over the course of the season at Oswego. And so it's really an unknown. So it's really, you're going to see guys making pit stops, maybe not making pit stops. The strategy in this race is going to be really interesting, but sheer speed, Otto just knows how to do this. He doesn't need pit stops. He just knows how to manage his race car, and he prepares like nobody else at the track. So if I'm picking one driver that's going to take this race, it's going to be Otto. But with that being said, if you want a dark horse, there's another thing that everybody seems to understand about the Hawk chassis cars. The newer ones are always the fastest. When Bobby Bond won his last Classic a couple of years ago, his car was virtually brand new. Last year, you had Dave Danzer, virtually a brand new Hawk car, and he
almost won it.
But he almost won it. And this year, you've got Joey Moriarty and Daniel Connors in brand new Hawk cars. I'm not so much looking at either one of them necessarily to win, but I think you got to make them both at least dark horse favorites because they're fastest when they're newest for whatever reason. That seems to exist. So it's going to be fun. There's probably, truthfully, 15 to 20 cars that can win this event.
Exactly. Now, can I throw my 2 cents into the ring real quick?
Sure.
Okay, my 2 cents comes like this. I'm going to match your coin with the other half of it and take the only other driver that's not named Sitterly to win the Classic in the last 6 years to win it for a third time. I'll take Bond, especially knowing the speed that he showed last night in testing. It's been those two. They've been the top 2 cars in 2 of the last 4 Classics, so I'm not opposed. I like Bobby Santos, though. Kyle Magda, there's my dark horse. He's been so good in a modified at Oswego over the years when he's jumped in the ROC car, and the Classic probably owes him one. I remember the couple of races at Oswego where Santos would just be so close, and nope.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Santos will be driving the Rig Ram 91, an extreme chassis, and he had a 4th place finish last year. He's had a couple of seconds and actually crashed coming across the line trying to win one year with Greg Furlong. Greg got the win and Bobby second. With that, we're going to take a break. We'll have a little bit more chatter about the Classic later on, but we've got other things to do coming up here in the next hour. We're going back to the stock car side of things here on the program. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas. 1 in 300 million. The odds of a daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland, spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts. 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 7 Grammy Awards. 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records. 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism. 1 in 68. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Eric Darnell.
This is David Reagan. Jamie McMurray.
This is Carl Edwards here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety.
Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible.
Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate.
Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network. And now, back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show with Speed 77 Radio's most follically challenged host, Tom Baker.
Yes, indeed. You are very, very much follically challenged. There's a photo floating around on social media that proves that, by the way.
Yeah, it's not a very flattering photo either, but it does prove that the bald spot is expanding.
Unfortunately.
I'll have a place for my RV eventually.
On that note, welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Jacob Seal and Tom Baker, Kyle Magda here talking motorsports, super modifieds for the International Classic and a lot of the regional touring series, late models, modifieds, you name it. If it runs on pavement, we're probably going to hit on it over the course of this 2-hour program. Kicking off our second half, talking a little ARCA action, which, strangely enough, not on the pavement this weekend. They are actually on the dirt mile at the DuQuoin State Fairgrounds in Illinois, Kyle Magda, and we're coming off a dirt race at Springfield where a Illinois local ended up winning the event. AJ Fike, probably best known for winning the Silver Crown race at Springfield a couple of times, adds his name to the ARCA win list finally, and did it in pretty dramatic fashion over a young rookie who we're getting ready to hear from in a couple of minutes, as well as a host of veterans who all were trying to deny him and just couldn't do it.
Yeah, for like a guy like AJ Fike, Jacob, just to see him finally break through and get a victory, to see those dirt guys finally get the job done. I think that's been the theme of this year, with Christopher Bell winning Eldora, with the Mudsummer Classic. It's been that pattern. We come into DuQuoin here, AJ will be back, Kelly Kofsky, Tyler Dipple. There's just so much going on, and it's good. I enjoy watching them on dirt. They have to have the dirt shields and I guess a certain type of tire. So there's just so much going on, and but what we're about to hear from shortly, it's going to be probably a good interview. I got to see him race at the Super Dirt Series race at 5 Mile Point 2 months ago, and I'm wondering to see how they're going to do, Jacob, here, how Tyler's going to do. And how the dirt guys are going to do again, because I actually seen someone like Kelly Kofsky finish the deal, not with the victory, but still finishing third there in the final rundown at Springfield.
Yeah, and you alluded to him, and the guy we're talking about is, in fact, Tyler Dipple, the 15-year-old who's driving for Lira Motorsports. Carlos and Michael Lira's team drove for him at Springfield, going to drive for him again on Monday at the DuQuoin State Fairgrounds. As you mentioned, he is a veteran of the Super Dirt Car Series Big Block Modified. It's amazing that we can call him a veteran at just 15 years old, but he's been doing that for a couple of years, actually competing tonight in the Super Dirt Car Series race at Rolling Wheels Raceway Park, the Bud Light 100, gearing up for the final Super Dirt Week coming up next month at the New York State Fairgrounds, and that's a discussion best left for another day, but they're excited about that. They're also excited about this ARCA race coming up on Monday, and for Tyler just to be at this ARCA race is a story in itself, because as you'll hear in the interview, he's come back from some pretty severe injuries sustained back in May to be able to compete both at Springfield and this coming Monday at DuQuoin, and in his words, it's been a long road, but a fun one to come back from.
Sitting down here on the Performance Motorsports Network to talk with dirt modified standout and now ARCA Racing Series rookie Tyler Dipple, coming off a 12th place finish and top 10 run throughout most of the ARCA Racing Series event at Springfield last Sunday. And I know, Tyler, we talked about the event at Springfield being one that you were really hopeful of because because of all your dirt track experience, maybe being able to give you a little bit of an edge, and it seemed like that showed. You were up as high as second at one point during the race, actually late in the race, and then just those last couple of restarts, it looked like killed you. Was there anything that you think you needed to do differently, or that you learned from the way things played out that maybe could have kept you up there a little bit further in the final rundown at the end?
Oh, yeah, I think just being new to the series, I think just our strategy was a little off. I think the tires gave out more than we were expecting there, and I think just learned a whole lot that we could apply to this race coming up, and I think just conserve more stuff, and I think we'll be good there. We learned a lot, but I think we still had a pretty good run there. As you said, just the last couple restarts killed us there. Our tires, we had nothing left there, and then just that incident at the end there, ended up with a 12th place run there on the last lap deal.
You're looking at DuQuoin on Monday. I know Springfield and DuQuoin are two dirt miles that are a little bit different from each other, but how much do you feel like you can take from the Springfield race, maybe about how the car was set up, how it worked for you, and apply it to this weekend at DuQuoin? Because I know, like you and I have talked about before, your philosophy about this is there's no points on the line. You guys just want to go in and have a shot to win the race, and you proved, at least at Springfield, that you can take that and run with it.
Oh, yeah, I think we can apply it a lot. I think they're going to be very, very similar, and I think we can, the car could definitely be better. I could definitely be better, and just as a team, I think we're going to be better there because we're going to use what we learned there and apply it there and just have better strategy going in, and hopefully we'll end up with better results this time.
How different is the ARCA car compared to what you've grown up the last couple years racing as far as the big block and the small block modifieds up in New York, Pennsylvania, some of the northeastern tracks like that? I mean, how different do the two cars drive from going to full fendered from being the no fenders that you're used to?
They drive way different. It's mainly just the weight difference, I think, which makes the big thing. It's just the motors are pretty similar in power-wise, but I think it's just the weight difference that makes them. They're just a little bit harder to drive, the ARCA cars.
For you, it's going to be your second ARCA start on Monday, and I know you were wondering when there was going to be another notch to add to that. Well, you just got the opportunity and found out over the past 24 hours or so that you do get the opportunity to add a third ARCA start to your growing resume, get to actually make a start for Lear Motorsports on the pavement at Salem Speedway coming up here in a couple of weeks' time. I know that's going to be different than what you've done in Springfield and what you're going to do at DuQuoin as far as the dirt, but I mean, how excited are you to be able to start transitioning a little bit back to the pavement? I know you were running the Oxford 250 as well, and it just seems like you're finally starting to get that pavement program back together a little bit.
Oh yeah, I can't really tell you how excited I am for this. It's just be really cool just to see take the ARCA to the asphalt deal and just to get back going, and I'm just super excited and grateful for the Lear Motorsports deal that's really coming together here.
This has really all been building from the end of 2014 when you finished second in the past national standings. You had the accident back in May that you've really overcome in such a big way. I mean, are you happy? Could you have envisioned being able to overcome the accident that you went through back in May to be where you're at right now when you were sitting in the hospital?
Oh yeah, you always have those visions. I mean, I just think we got going a little slow, but once we started getting back into the rhythm of things just picked up, I think, right where we kind of left off pretty much once we got back in the rhythm of things.
What else is going down the road for you as far as the end of this season? Obviously, I know Super Dirt Week's coming up. You guys are working on getting both the small block and the big block cars ready to go. I mean, how big would it be to cap your season off with one or maybe even two wins out there, knowing it's the last race at Syracuse?
Oh yeah, we got a bunch of big races coming up in the dirt, like you mentioned, Super Dirt Week there. We're building 2 new cars, a big block and small block for that event, and a bunch of big dirt races coming up, and some of the ARCA stuff, and the race at Salem, and some more asphalt stuff. We really got a packed schedule from here out for the rest of the year.
And I know none of that's possible by yourself, Tyler. Sponsors, shout out, supporters. Who do you need to thank, and who makes it happen for you and the crew?
I'd like to thank my mom and dad, my crew chief Matt Hearn, Glenn Sullivan, all the people that help us get to the track every week. DNA Concrete, Mohawk Northeast, Tire Trenchless Technologies, and all the other people that make it possible.
Well, we've had fun watching it. Looking forward to seeing you on the track, not just this weekend at DuQuoin, but going forward at Salem and Syracuse as well, Tyler. Best of luck, and we'll look forward to hopefully having you back on the show before the end of the season.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me.
And Tom, for those who may not have heard the original story back when it first happened in May, this is a young man who's coming back from 5 bilateral fractures to his pelvis and was in a walker for 2 months after the trailer door from his dirt trailer that weighs probably 1,300 pounds broke in transit to Lebanon Valley Speedway. And when a crew member opened it, it actually fell straight onto Tyler and one of his other teenage crew members. So he's come back from a lot. Just to have performed the way he did, he was as high as second at one point in that Springfield race, is doggone impressive, to say the least.
Yeah, and he also has won a dirt track race since he's been back at Delaware International Speedway. So, and I think, of course, running the upcoming ARCA race as well at DuQuoin, and I think Salem, he said as well, which is
we just
awesome.
popped that on here on the Performance Motorsports Network that Tyler and Lear Motorsports have come to the agreement that he's going to make his first ARCA pavement start at Salem in the 38 car. Originally, Todd Gilliland was supposed to be behind the wheel of that machine. Tyler going to take over that car. Tom, I'm not saying I know anything. If I had to speculate, I'd say that probably means that we're going to hear something in the next day or 2 or 3 about Todd being in a Venturini car for that weekend.
I would guess, yeah, that's what I would say too. Just a tremendous comeback for a fine young man. He comes from a great family, and just to see Tyler be able to do what he did in that first ARCA start and actually have a shot at winning it. And I think he has a great shot in the next couple of races.
Yeah, I think he does too. And though there's no live television coverage of the Southern Illinois 100 on Monday, you can hear the live call. Our friends Tim Clegg and Charlie Kroll going to be on the call for that one Monday afternoon at arcaracing.com. So we'll keep an eye on that and wish Tyler the best of luck as he competes on Monday at the DuQuoin State Fairgrounds. Right now, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some K&M Pro Series East with the most improbable winner of the 2015 season. Sergio Pena joins us on the hotline right after this. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time.
What? No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
If you're a gearhead and you just can't get enough of your favorite motorsports on that channel on the cable, or you look at that Guy network and you just go, what does that have to do with me? We have the answer. Performance Motorsports Network. Right here on the internet. The best cruising tunes, the best in motorsports programming, and the best shows. We have opinionated hosts, and we like it that way. If you want to get involved, if you want to bench race, be listening for information coming up soon right here on this channel, the Performance Motorsports Network. Your source for motorsports. The Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show continues now on the Performance Motorsports Network. And here's your host, Tom Baker.
Welcome back to Thursday Night Thunder here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. I am Tom Baker along with Jacob Seelman and Kyle Magden. We are talking all kinds of racing here tonight. We've been focusing a lot on the Budweiser International Classic upcoming at the Oswego Speedway, but we are back in stock car mode for a while and talking with a driver that, Jacob, you and I watched win last weekend. You talk about improbable finishes, as you mentioned earlier. Sergio Pena showed up to sub for Jay Beasley for Rev Racing. Jay feeling not so perfect, and so took the race off, and Sergio got the call, led one lap, but that's all that mattered.
Yeah,
got the win.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It only matters if you lead the last lap, that's exactly what he did, and we're glad to have Sergio back on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show for the second time this year. And Sergio, when we talked to you on Saturday, it hadn't set in. I know you were over the moon at that point. Has it set in at all yet? Have you gotten a chance to process? Has the phone rang at all? You know, after
he just
getting
watched
this win,
himself on TV.
This is true. You just got you just got to see it again. So has it set in finally what you were actually able to accomplish on Saturday?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on here. Yeah, it really hasn't set in too much yet. I'm still enjoying it every moment, just like it happened. So, just being able to watch it on TV a couple minutes ago allowed me to relive it and actually remember those last couple laps because, you're so focused trying to just stay smooth and get to the front there that I honestly, throughout the week, I've kind of forgot what those last laps were like exactly. So that was nice to kind of relive it there.
Yeah, getting to watch it again, I'm sure you were probably able to see how much closer it was than maybe you realized at the time. I mean, the last lap, once you got by Dalton and then had to fend off Kaz, I mean, he peaked on you 2 or 3 times on that last lap. I mean, how nerve-wracking was it for you behind the wheel trying to hold him off once you got the lead because you two put on a heck of a scrap?
Yeah, it was very, very intense. That last restart there after that last red flag was tough. I think I made it 3 wide there with Kaz, and I forget who else was in front of me there, but ended up getting to Kaz a little bit, trying to move him out of the way to clear a path for me there, and he went off the road a little bit, was able to get right back behind me and run me back down within that lap. Then you saw Austin Hill, end up losing it there. Everyone's just driving so hard. Your adrenaline is rushing, and you're trying to get some distance, especially if you're the leader. You're trying to get some distance from that guy in second place who's putting a bunch of pressure on you. So it seems like it got to some of those guys a little bit. And then I was able to get right behind Dalton Sargent there as the white flag was coming out, and he just way overshot the braking area for turn 1 there. So I lifted actually a little bit early so I could get a good run on Dalton coming off the corner. I wasn't sure that he was going to completely miss a turn, but that allowed Kaz to get to the inside of me there and pass me. But again, he overdrove the corner there too, so I just kind of ducked right back behind him and just tried to hold him off that last lap.
You get the win subbing for Jay, who was out because of illness. So, that made it partially as improbable as anything we expected all weekend. But for you, it was your first win in a couple of years in the K&N series, and I think kind of maybe proved to a lot of people that you've still got exactly what it takes to get it done. Has your phone rang at all? Maybe somebody looking, hey, we need a driver. I mean, has this opened any doors yet for you, or are you just still kind of waiting it out?
Yeah, unfortunately not yet. My phone hasn't rang. The only one was at Richmond is a for sure thing now. Like you were saying, I'm filling in for Jay Beasley, and first of all, I want to let everyone know thoughts and prayers go out to Jay. He definitely deserves to be in that car, and he should have been the one driving and winning that race. So I definitely want to dedicate that win to him. But yeah, it has been a tough past couple of years. 2011, I was tied for the winningest driver there with Brett Moffitt and Darrell Wallace Jr. Winning 3 races, and then we went 2 years without a win. Last year we picked up one at Columbus with Rev Racing again, and then to win one again this year with them is just such an awesome feeling. But yeah, it was very unexpected. I didn't have a full season lined up this year. I'd only run one race at the first race of the year. When Jay got sick, they asked me to fill in for him the last race at Motordrome, and then again this week he's still not better. So very, very thankful for the opportunity from Rev Racing and NASCAR and the Drive for Diversity program for keeping me in mind. Like I've said a couple times here, they could have had anybody go in that car, and the fact that they picked me to drive that thing means a lot. So I can't thank them enough.
Sergio, just want to go back 2 weeks to Motordrome. You step in for Jay. First of all, how soon did you know about that? And with him not being in the car and you winning, I mean, what's your mindset going through that? Knowing he's I guess sick at the time, and you stepping into that car.
Yeah, so Motordrome, that happened very, very last minute. I know we had an open test day there on Friday because the series had never been to the track, and then Saturday was the race. I found out Wednesday night. So man, Thursday was a day to kind of gather myself. I actually had to work Thursday, so gosh, I wasn't even really knowing what was going on at work. I was just kind of focused and excited on the opportunity that Rev had given me to sub in for Jay. And at the same time, it was hard to be excited because Jay's a very good friend of mine. We were teammates the entire year last year, so yeah, it was very, very tough to be excited when your buddy is out and down like that. But again, I was going to try to make the most of that opportunity, and ended up coming home 10th. I think we could have done a little bit better, but track was kind of coming apart. They had to repave sections of the track there and kind of didn't play with our strategy that we had going. So that was a bummer, but solid top 10 nonetheless. And then to get a win the second race, filling in for him again is just an unbelievable feeling. The goal when you're subbing in for a driver is, you want to get a good finish for the team. You don't want to tear up any equipment because, first of all, it's not technically yours. You're just kind of filling in. So that was the goal. And that first half of the race, if anyone watched it there on TV, we were kind of out of sight. And that's because I was just in the back saving tires and taking care of my stuff for the end there. But to come home with a win after such a crazy, hectic race, and my passion is road racing. That's what I grew up doing. So to get a win on road course, my home state of Virginia, subbing for Jay, it's just, couldn't be more emotional, and just an amazing weekend.
Surely we all are hoping for a quick recovery for Jay and to get him back in the car. Serge, of course, you and I go back a while to when I was announcing the Manufacturers Cup Kart Series. You were, I think, still a junior karter at that time in about 2004.
That's where the snake is coming from, right?
Yeah, it was. That's
okay,
where the nickname
I was
Snake
saying,
came
that
from.
sounds so familiar. I was only like 7 years old, but I was like, man, why does that sound so familiar? And I remember now Jacksonville. I think you started that in Jacksonville, right?
I did. I think that was our first race of the year. And the reason I bring all that up, Serge, is because I really found it ironic and apt that here, we haven't seen each other for years. And, of course, you've won 4 races, I think, coming into that race this past weekend. But here you go again. The reason I nicknamed you the Snake was because we wouldn't see you the whole race. And all of a sudden, the last lap, where'd he come from? Well, we kind of saw that again. So I guess the nickname still fits. But the reason I wanted to mention that is because I was curious. You say that you're a road course racer at heart. Is that really, how much of what you learned in the go-karts, I know obviously they're 2 entirely different types of vehicles, but I think a lot of the mental aspect of how to run a race and how to be patient, how to sit, and how to just wait for the race to come to you has to be transferable to any of the racing that you're doing now.
Oh, yeah, it all transfers. Any form of racing just gets you in that, first of all, that competitive mindset, trying to beat people and just staying focused for a long period of time, whether it's go-karting, Formula cars, NASCAR stuff, anything. It all works together in that sense. as far as the go-karting stuff on the road courses, helping myself in the stock car, it really does. Turning left and right, braking, learning how to brake correctly. And, when people are trying to pass you, you brake differently, turning differently, just doing different apexes and changing that throughout the course of the race, depending on the situation. Yeah, that all, that really comes into play. And I've raced road courses for the first 9 years of my racing career, so that was huge for that. And then I've been racing ovals now for about 6 years after that. So, I was really, really excited that the K&N Series brought back road racing. I was always glad, very, very different. I ran formula cars also for a little bit, and I wasn't sure how similar they would be to all that, being so heavy and so powerful. But all that stuff transfers over for sure, so that's good.
And I know another thing that never gets old and does transfer over from place to place, Serge, is the fact that it doesn't happen by yourself. You got sponsors and people to thank, and I know a little bit of a different list because you were in for Jay in that 42 car, but give them all a shout-out, why don't you? Who makes it happen for Sergio Pena?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to thank Rev Racing, NASCAR, and the Drive for Diversity program. They gave me the start in the series when I was 16 years old. They had faith in me. I was very young and very inexperienced, but they gave me a shot, and I've been able to carry on my career in the series from there. So I have to thank them so much. And then as an alumni of the program, having me come back as a sub for Jay is just, again, such an awesome feeling. Rev Racing is kind of like a family to me, so I was just so thankful for that opportunity. They've really done a lot for me. It's just been an amazing experience. So we'll be back at Richmond. I'll be back subbing for Jay again. Once again, he's not cleared to run, so again, I want to thank Rev Racing for that opportunity to continue subbing for him. And, as long as he's not clear to run, I'm going to just keep on giving my best and try to rack up some wins for the team.
Well, congratulations on a very big and very improbable victory last weekend, Serge, and we certainly look forward to seeing you back on track at Richmond as, of course, we continue to send prayers and well wishes to Jay Beasley for him to be able to get back in the car soon. Thanks for taking some time to be on with us, and certainly hope to be talking to you again fairly soon after another win.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Hopefully after Richmond I'll be back on, but good to hear from you guys, and I hope to talk to you guys soon.
All right, that's Sergio Pena, and we're going to take a break. When we come back, we go from a road course racer who's gotten some wins on ovals to an oval track specialist who showed that he ain't scared to run on a road course. Daniel Hemrick going to join us next on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. You are listening to our program on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Every 30 minutes, another innocent person is killed due to a drunk driver.
My best friend. My brother. My poor grandchild.
My sister.
My father.
My husband.
My mom. My mommy.
Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you.
Stop these tragedies before they happen. Don't drink and drive.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here on one internet channel. The Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it.
Hi, I'm Reek Sorensen. Racing has been a part of me and my family for as long as I can remember.
I had to make tough choices early on to get to the top. It took hard work and dedication. But it's those tough choices that help me prepare for challenges I would face as a Cup driver. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Now, back to more with Tom and the Speed 77 radio crew. It's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Tom Baker along with Kyle Magda and Jacob Seelman. And Jacob, it is time to bring our next guest out of the pits, let him go full throttle. And we've had him on numerous times, and he never disappoints. Always fun to talk to him. And, you know, I'm beginning to think I've seen him just exceed expectations at his first ever dirt track race at Eldora. I watched him listen to him actually drive a great race last week on the road course over in Canada. He's obviously fantastic on all sizes of oval tracks. I'm beginning to think that he could have raced in our gig races last night, going down the hill in a soapbox derby type car, and probably won that too. Let's bring him out here. Daniel Hemrick, welcome back to the program. Is there any type of racing surface or configuration of track that you cannot finish in the top 5 on?
I appreciate you guys having me on. I like to think I'm up for all challenges. I mean, it's a dream come true to be able to have the opportunity to go to these different racetracks and race for a living and race every week in a different vehicle. Obviously, this year I found the full-time ride in NASCAR Campbell Truck Series NTS Motorsports. It's been a really cool experience in all the different racetracks.
Well, it certainly what must have been an experience last week because, being in Canada, first of all, I think, something different for you. That course is such an interesting course. Talk a little bit about how you adapted to that course so well, because not all drivers I know have such an easy time of it their first time out.
Yeah, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is an unbelievable facility. The promoters and everybody did such a great job. And you talked about the racetrack. Yes, it's very technical. You got your really high speed parts of the racetrack as well as really tight parts of the racetrack. So you got to have your truck right, but you as a driver have to put it all together as well in the 10 corners there. So did a lot of iRacing and whatnot. Talked to a bunch of people that ran there previously in years past to try to get ready for it, and ultimately just trying to be ready when they started practice because I needed all the laps I could get, and it definitely paid off for us.
I was going to say, I could tell it paid off, and while Tom's lauding the fact that you can drive on any type of course since we were in Canada, I'm just glad you got back in the country afterwards. But, we've seen you drive everything this season. Dirt track, road course, you've had a bunch of top 5s, top 10s, I think 10 of them now on the season in this truck. You're 5th in points, Daniel, as a rookie. Could you have pictured this at the start of the year, knowing there was a lot you hadn't done? This was a whole new challenge, and there had been some flashes of brilliance, but maybe nothing crazy. Could you have seen this coming?
Obviously I knew it was going to be a steep challenge going into this year, but I think anybody that's kind of known me growing up racing, I try to strive to be the best in whatever it is and just be the best I can be. And, honestly, I'm a little disappointed I haven't really won a race or nothing yet, but everybody's like, man, just give it time. You're so close. So that's been keeping me going. Everybody's been really confident at the shop, and we've definitely hit our stride and put these top 10s together and really build as a unit. It's been really, really cool to see everybody grow, including myself at NTS Motorsports. So Ryan McKinney, crew chief's done a great job keeping me calm when I need to be, and made some really good calls here as of late, and really put ourselves in position to run top 10 everywhere just about. So it's been I don't want to say a dream come true, but the ultimate dream is to win a race this year. So hopefully we can keep working harder and harder and achieve that goal by the year end.
You've been just about as close as it comes. I'm starting to think that 4 is the number for you because you've been 4th in Canada, you were 4th in Bristol, you were 4th in Dover earlier in the season, but it's just been so consistent. I mean, you've only been out of the top 10 once since a 17th place finish at Charlotte, so it's been unbelievable consistency this year. Based on the fact we've got 8 races to go, there's some tracks that you've been to now that are coming back on the schedule. Is there anywhere you're really confident about maybe getting that win?
I'm just confident about every race every racetrack we go to right now as a team. I feel like our entire aero package has gotten better. Chevrolet's done a great job giving us what we need to be better on the mile and a half stuff. Chicago, we're really putting a good truck together, and I'm really hoping that we have a really, really stout shot there. And we haven't really been back to a mile and a half in about a month and a half or so. So, you know, I'm really excited to get back to Chicago. Obviously, following that, a couple of short tracks coming up in New Hampshire, Martinsville. That's always a good time. But, you know, I really enjoyed Texas. Running back there in, you know, early summer, going back there in the fall is really the first mile and a half we'll go back to for the second time, and really have I feel like a really good balance on where we need to start. You know, we started off there a little bit earlier this year, and we had really good result and got a tire there at the end of the race. But if we can unload where we ended there and make progress, I'm really, really excited to get Texas.
All right, so you've had all this consistency. The top 5s and top 10s have now started coming in, and I'm sure I've heard the rumors going around, and of course the talk about is something going to be put together, or you know, things are in the works. So I want to get it straight from you. Is there anything going on between you and the team going towards 2016? Have you guys started talking about maybe doing this again next year, or is it still all kind of up in the air at this point?
I mean, it's always up in there until the dotted line signed, but, you know, we're definitely pushing for that goal. You know, it's been really cool to have California Clean Power on board with us this year. It's been their first time really involved in motorsports, and I feel like we've given them a good showing, and I really like to keep a ongoing partnership with those guys. They've really made this whole deal work and keep the ball rolling, and especially here as of late, giving us everything we need to do it and do it better and do it like we need to week in and week out. So, you know, at the end of the day, that is next year. Obviously, it's nice to do a little planning this year, but right now my job is to get what I can every week, and I'm going to keep doing that. Hopefully, if I do my job, it'll all work out.
Daniel, you've been a busy man this year. You get engaged at Kenzie a few weeks ago. You go out, you run the K&N Series, the Truck Series, and you have all this success. What has contributed it to you just going to a racetrack and just like a track like Eldora, you go out there and you finish 5th? What contributes to just going out there on a racetrack and doing as good as you have with the top 5s you've been getting, like Jacob said earlier?
I don't know if there's any master formula to it, but it's, you know, in all honesty, I'm just waking up. I'm just thankful to be able to do what I've been able to do this year. You know, every day is a great day, especially when you spend at a racetrack. So just to give him Kannapolis, getting to live his dream. And there's been a lot of people very, very influential on my career. So it's been really cool to see the success we've had and make everybody feel like every hand they've lent me over the years has been worth it. So it's I guess that's the easiest way to put it. I'm just at ease. You know, just fortunate to get to do what I'm getting to do for a living, and having a lot of fun every day.
I was going to say, you're having a lot of fun, and you're going to have a lot of fun this weekend as well, actually getting back behind the wheel of a super late model for a rare start this weekend, Daniel. And I know that's something that we maybe haven't seen as much of from you here lately, but get to go back racing this weekend on an off week for the Truck Series and see if you can't go back to the short tracks and pick up a win again.
Yeah, guaranteed. I'm really excited to get to Winchester for the World Stock Car Festival. It's a really big deal at Winchester. It's a really cool racetrack, and obviously it's a tune-up for the Winchester 400. I'll be driving for Richie Waters with First Community Bank on board with us. It's going to be fun. You know, I haven't really got to do as much short-track racing as I'd like. Took a lot of time this year to focus on the task at hand, that being the NASCAR Camp Road Truck Series. And so any opportunity I get to go back and run some super late models whenever it makes sense, I love to do it. So it could be going to a better racetrack. I love Winchester. Really pumped up to get there. You know, kind of a weird situation. We race on Monday afternoon. That's a little different in itself, but it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Speaking of the 400, a race where you've been really strong at in the past, what kind of these big shows are we going to see you at here over the next couple of months? Are we going to see you back at a couple of the shows like the 400 later in the year?
Yeah, that's the plan. Right now, the schedule consists of obviously the 100 this coming weekend for Labor Day, as well as the Winchester 400 back at the beginning of October. And other than that, probably do a little testing down at Pensacola and Five Flags with Richie Waters. I'm going to attempt to run the snowball derby with those guys, and we've been close to both of those races. Hopefully we can get the job done and seal the deal this year.
I was going to say, you feel like Pensacola owes you one. I think I've seen you be fast at every snowball derby you've been in, and just somehow the circumstances find a way to take it from you before you can cross the checkered flag first. I know that's big on the bucket list. The Truck Series win is big on the bucket list. And, you grew up on these short tracks, and now you're getting to do it, as they say, in the big time a little bit. I mean, are you content with where things are at this stage of your career? Because I know, when we first met a couple years ago, there was a time where maybe, I don't want to say you lost hope in the ultimate goal of being where you're at right now, but I remember you saying to me once that keep the head down, keep the fin up, but it just doesn't seem like we're moving anywhere.
No, that's true. I never really lost hope, but I definitely got to the point where the hill looked very steep at times. But like you talked about, just through keeping the faith and knowing it all worked out the way it's supposed to, it has. It's been really cool to get the opportunity to do what 95% of people, 99% of people never get a chance to do. So at the end of the day, it does show that it can be done, and so there's a little inspiration to all local short trackers around the country that that don't know if they're gonna get that shot. I like to think it's living proof that you can. And man, I'm telling you, I'm just having fun. You talked about winning the snowball and winning the truck race and being high on the list. It's just hearing that, something I never thought I'd have a chance to do. So it's really cool. I'm just trying to take advantage of every situation and make the most of it, and hopefully you'll get some wins later this year.
Well, I know taking advantage of the situations that you've had presented to you this year isn't possible without a lot of help, like you said, and I always want to give you a chance to shout out to some of those people. Daniel, who makes it happen for you in this 14 team?
A lot of people, obviously Chevrolet and everybody, NTS Motorsports, California Clean Power, touched on them about being the first year in the sport. Been really, really honored to take care of their colors and their organization on our truck this year. All the people that helped me over the years, Sparco Bell helmets, Racing Electronics, LaJoy seats. I mean, list goes on and on. MPI steering wheels. It's been a lot of hands involved. Everybody that's ever lent a hand, they know who they are, and I'm very appreciative of it.
Well, we're always appreciative to get a chance to talk with you. It's been a long road, and we've been privileged to share in a small part of it. So we're looking forward to watching you get back at it here in a couple weeks when the trucks go to Kentucky, Daniel. And again, congratulations on another step up the ladder of proving something that just because you haven't been somewhere or done a lot of road racing, you can still make it happen. Wish you all the best, and we'll see you on track in a couple weeks.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you in Chicago, and I appreciate it.
That's Daniel Hemrick. When we come back from this break, we are going to get ready to wrap up tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show with a little bit more conversation about the International Classic and maybe a few more sidebars from the day's news as well. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show here on PMN, the Performance Motorsports Network.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, recording artists against drunk driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more, but the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives and so should you.
Motorsports sales professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
You are a waste. A loser. Everyone hates you. Why don't you just stay in your car and keep driving? I'm serious. Drive until you run out of gas, then get out of your car and walk until you find someone who doesn't think you're dumber than bricks. Could take a while, but at least all that walking might burn a couple of calories.
You may not witness bullying like this every day. Your kids do. They want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov to learn safe, simple ways your child can help stop bullying. Be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park. And now, back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show with Speed 77 Radio's most follically challenged host, Tom Baker.
Ouch! Twice in one night and they're attacking your hair, Tom? Really?
Yeah, twice in one night. That's what I get for being the host, I guess. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on PMM. We call this Thursday Night Thunder, and I am Tom Baker along with Jacob Seelman and Kyle Magda, and we are in our final segment of the evening and talking all kinds of different, we've talked everything from super modifieds to late models to modifieds to trucks here tonight, and a few things in between, ARCA. Again, just so much stuff going on this weekend. Of course, I'm live here in Oswego, New York, where Kyle Magda will be joining me tomorrow as everything gets started for the 59th annual Budweiser International Classic Weekend at the Oswego Speedway. And if you're interested in knowing more about what's going on this weekend at Oswego, or you want to know what a super modified looks like or whatever, you can do a couple things. First of all, go to racechaseronline.com. We've got some classic countdown stories, some blasts from the past that'll give you an idea of what's gone on at the International Classic over the last bunch of years. And the other thing you can do is go to Oswego, OSWEGO, OswegoSpeedway.com, and you can check out their YouTube channel as well. All kinds of good stuff. So with that all being said, guys, I want to refocus us for a second. We'll come back to Oswego, but I want to refocus us on Darlington a little bit because I've not seen NASCAR and the NASCAR media, as in the radio and TV broadcasters of the NASCAR racing.
People like us, basically.
Well, people like us, but more I'm thinking about MRN, NBC in this case. I've never really seen such a desire to, and so much effort to sort of have a throwback weekend as we're seeing this year. And I think it's something that's really cool, and I think it's something that more series ought to do. And I think this is something that should become a tradition for Labor Day weekend in Darlington.
Can this be a yearly thing, please? Because if so, sign me up right now. I'm sold. I'm set. Let's do it, because I'm so pumped about this weekend, maybe more so than any race weekend in my lifetime, because this is going to be a blast back to the past. It's going to be a step into the old days, Tom. I feel like Sunday night I'm going to get to experience a little bit of what you got to experience when you were a kid, and that makes me really, 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 really excited, because it's just one of those things where it's like they say you can't replicate it. Well, gosh darn it, we're trying this weekend. And I feel like that's kind of the attitude that NASCAR's taken into this, which I love. I think it's admirable. Kyle Magda, we need to do more of this. Like Tom said, I want to see this become a tradition. Now that Darlington's back where it belongs, let's do something like this every year. I don't care whether it's with the Southern 500. Maybe that's the logical choice to do it, but let's do something like this every year. Make it special, make it worthwhile, and maybe harken back to that little bit older generation fan base a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a purist, but, I always feel like the last Southern 500 on Labor Day was 2003, and I think the last Mountain Dew Southern 500 was in 2004, but November. But, I mean, as I view it, it looks like it's a new tradition. I'm all for it as well. I mean, I'd be on it for sure, but, I just hope this weekend goes well. With the Xfinity race, with the Cup race, I just want to see a successful weekend there, because Darlington is back where it needs to be on Labor Day weekend. And, I know, like, I talked to some of my friends who just are coming up now, and they've not been in the sport long. They're used to seeing Atlanta, California on Labor Day. And I'm like, well, there was a time before that when Darlington, and I still remember when Terry Labonte won that race in 2003. Yes. I remember that. And that was a good weekend for the 5-car because then Brian Vickers won the Busch race the day before. So it was a good weekend for a 5-car. But, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot going on. And, I wonder how it's going to be on Saturday as well. I don't know what the tire compound is for the weekend, but
softer.
Yeah, and then I mean, Tom and I, or one of us, will be watching it somewhere on Saturday and Sunday. But I'm really looking forward to the weekend, and I know you, Jacob, you want to talk some K&N West. They're going to be racing as well this weekend, so there's just so much going on right now. And just a lot looking forward to this weekend. A lot of racing going on, and man, I'm looking forward to all of it.
Yeah, Kyle, you're going to have somebody DVR things for you, just saying, because once you get started at Oswego Saturday and Sunday, I promise you're not going to be focusing on anything else for a long while, because it's absorbing once you get started with Classic Saturday and Classic Sunday. Tom will tell you, and it'll probably take an hour that we don't have. But Tom, yeah. I want to hit on 2 points battles really quickly tonight before we close too, because they're huge and nobody talks about them because they're regional series. Well, that's what we love here. K&N Pro Series West is in action this weekend for a brand new race to the schedule at the Quarter Mile Meridian Speedway in Idaho. That it's a track that I'm super pumped about. One of a friend of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show, and one of our West Coast voices that's been on in the past here on PMN, DJ Everett, one of the announcers out there at Meridian, and said there's not been excitement about anything at Meridian like this in probably 15 or 20 years. He said the fans are ready. Actually, most of the K&N West field is at an appearance at the Napa Auto Parts store in Meridian tonight in advance of that race. And it's going to be a big one because the standings, there are 5 drivers: Chris Eggleston, Ryan Partridge, Noah Gragson, Grayson Raz, David Mayhew, separated by 18 points, Tom. 18 finishing positions on the racetrack with 3 races to go. And oh, by the way, Eggleston and Partridge are tied for the championship lead with 3 to go. It's a moment that makes you sit back, look at this, and go, really? This is happening?
Well, and it's one of those organic chases for a cup.
Exactly.
That you really like to see. And I think we're kind of heading in that direction, possibly in the truck series as well. It's the K&N West series has been a delightful surprise this year, because I think that we underestimated going into the season some of the younger talent and how quickly they would adapt. And to see the Noah Gregsons, the Grayson Razes, the Chris Egglestons, even who's really had a terrific season, Ryan Partridge, those kids are just outstanding young racers. And when you mix them with a veteran like David Mayhew, for example, I mean, it's been a real fun series this year out there. And, we talked K&N East versus K&N West before their season started. And I think we underestimated the West a little bit. It's been every bit the joy to watch that the East has. And so it should be a lot of fun. You can't do much better than 5 drivers, 18 points apart with 3 races left, because there's not much margin for error there. In a way, it gets hard to make up points because of the size of the fields. But in another way, you also have to really not screw up. I mean,
That's right.
Winning is the priority at this point.
And you hit the nail on the head right there. Wins, because that's what's going to give you those all-important bonus points for getting to the checkered flag first, and that's going to be what determines, I think, in large part, this championship. That's what's going to separate the best from the rest, is you're going to have to win at least one of these final 3 races. And I think maybe if you're a guy like Gragson or Raz, who are 6 and 12 points back now, respectively, quickly, you may have to win 2 of those final 3 races if you want to have a legitimate shot at winning this championship. Right now, until somebody proves to me otherwise, I think it comes down to Chris Eggleston versus Ryan Partridge in the West. But Tom, you said there's not a lot that could be anything better. I do have one thing that's better than that. It's called the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour. You know why?
Yes,
Because
true.
that
Yes.
points battle, there are 9 drivers.
9
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 within 24 points. And there are 8 drivers within 18 points. Are you kidding me? I mean, and this is all with 4 races to go. The top 3 are separated by 4 points. The top 5 separated by 12. It's unbelievable. Jason Myers, Burt Myers, Andy Seiss, Kyle Ebersol, J.R. Bertuccio, George Brunhosel, Frank Fleming, Gary Putnam, Bobby Miesmer, all still realistically in this championship fight. We got 4 races to go. Those fields have been big enough where if you crash out, you can lose a decent amount of points.
Oh, yeah.
This is unbelievable. And George Brunhosel is 6th in points, 18 back with 4 races to go. And I'm sitting here saying right now, Tom, he has a shot to win this championship because he's won at 3 of the final 4 tracks on the circuit.
Yeah, and this is a case where that's a great stat, and you would think that that would give him a great shot to win the championship. And I agree that he has a great shot, but I don't think it's because of his past success. I just think that, these guys are so even right now that, and you also hit the nail on the head with the fact that in the K&N Pro Series West, we don't necessarily have the quantity of cars that some of those guys that are fighting for the championship wish we had in order for there to be more of a separation of points throughout the field. But in the Whelen Southern Modified Tour, we surely do have quantity and quality and parity, and it's just been really amazing. I just can't I can't believe how exciting this season's been on the Whelen Southern Modified Tour. And that series in the South, for a little while, it started to tail off a little bit. But boy, these last couple of years, it's been growing right back. And, we're starting to see a lot more younger drivers looking into that series. And I think it's great because I love the modifieds, and I'm looking forward to the Race of Champions modified race here at Oswego tomorrow night. Same type of modifieds, just not NASCAR sanctioned. But it's been a real surprise again that that tour has been so close. But we had the Northern guys coming down in the beginning of the year and invading and winning, and that really kind of scrambled some things, and some guys got off to kind of rocky starts, and now that's what's, I think, that was the recipe for this title fight that we got now, and anybody could win it at this point. Anybody, any of those 9 cars could win this championship. I don't think the fact that George Brunhosel has had success on the past tracks really gives him a big advantage at this point because there are so many good cars.
Exactly right. And Tom, you went through so much right there. I was going to give you a lightning bullet point, but I'm going to go to Kyle first. Magda, you wanted to give this bullet earlier, and I'll come back to you now. Classic picks, sir. You're going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to be there all weekend, which I'm looking forward to. Which one do you want? Just Sunday's pick, or do you want all 3?
Sunday. Just Sunday.
Okay. My gut has been telling me this. This guy finished 3rd last year. I'm going to go with Davey Hamilton. I don't know why. Just my gut wants me to go with that. And like you said, Tom, he has won it before. But I'm really
97.
looking forward to the weekend. Last time the Joey, I'm blanking on his last name. The Phoenix guy.
Moriarty.
Yeah, I know it's hard to pronounce that. Manizita, that's where the Outlaws used to race. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to the ROC show tomorrow. And yes, I do not have MAV TV, so hopefully one of you or somebody can help me out, and hopefully get me the Speed Sport Challenge as well, which I was at back in May as well. So looking forward to everything.
Yeah, we enjoyed that race. Tom Baker, lightning bullet point, fire, sir.
Lightning bullet point is, this is a special racing weekend wherever you may be. And wherever there's a track near you, please go see it. Please watch Darlington. Support your local short tracks. They need the support. Lots of great racing going on out there. Bring on the 59th Annual Budweiser International Classic in Oswego. And folks, please, if you're going to be drinking this weekend, let somebody else do the driving.
Absolutely. The 21 Means 21 initiative in NASCAR, definitely a big supporter of that, but we do want to see safety across the motorsports world and across the country in general this weekend as you celebrate your Labor Day. We could go through slogans for the next hour, Magda. But anyway, we do want to see safety across the country during this Labor Day holiday weekend. So as Tom said, and I'll echo, wherever you may be, please do it safely and enjoy your holiday weekend. Enjoy the racing. From our partners at Stock Car Steel and SRI Supplies, we thank them for helping us put on this show. And for all your shop supply and scrap metal needs, visit stockcarsteel.com or sri-supplies.com for more information. And as we say goodnight, we salute all the great short track and big track racing that's going to be taking place this Labor Day weekend. The tradition returns at Darlington and across the country. So we salute all of you who are going to see the races this weekend and remind you to keep it off the wall until we meet again. And one of the three of us will see you at the racetrack. We can count on it. Have a safe racing weekend. Good night.
You've been listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Tonight's show is brought to you by Stock Car Steel and Aluminum and SRI Supplies. For all of your racing needs, visit stockcarsteel.com and sri-supplies.com. Keep up with the latest motorsports news every day on Race Chaser Online. The Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com, a member of the Scorpion Radio Group, Inc., and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or the marketing partners. Be listening again next week for more great motorsports programming right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.